in just 34 minutes, they will take down the Nexus Towers. Larssen gets the shutdown, fighting for his life, but he goes golden. Not for long, he'll survive. He's done. And the Mad Lions are the masters of Europe.
It is so done for SK, and Misfits collapsing onto the turret, smashing down the base. SK turn their attention to the Nexus, and it is all over for Misfits. They take the series.
Jetzt kriegt man aber Corki. Vayne hat jetzt einen Killgold. Tristana völlig out of position. Die wird jetzt weggeknallt, die Alte. Die ist komplett raus. Der Nexus geht down. Big gewinnt die EU Masters.
Wulaj raz po raz, Chikola, Trimbizon zaraz Legenda. Wszystkich tych trzeba zaznaczyć. Mimo tego, że w Ultralidze nie udało się zwyciężyć w tym sezonie, to w finale pokazują, na co stać Ultraligę i na co stać polską scenę na scenie europejskiej.
Allez les gars, Nexus sur Oromé qui va être contre...
Barrage, encore une fois de Mati. Je vous l'avais dit, Choisreal était monstrueux. La deuxième poème, la deuxième poème, la deuxième poème, c'est fait.
For a couple of years now, EU Masters has been the stage where everything is possible. We get to meet new players, but also more experienced players get to make their redemption. This is the place where stories begin, or new chapters are written. In spring, we got to crown a new champion. Karmine Corp was the most beautiful Cinderella story we ever had in France, going from 2nd division to winning the LFL and crushing the EU Masters within 6 months. And today, they look to do it again and confirm the LFL supremacy in 2021. In summer, KC had to rebuild after the Petit Prince de la top lane left for greater things with Fnatic in the LEC. We were all wondering if the magic within K-Corp would be strong enough to persist with Adangon. We were wondering who could have the shoulders and strength to take his place. Karmine has always been a resourceful team, and just like that, they brought Cabochard back from the forgotten. It didn't take long for K-Corp to prove that in the LFL, they would stay a force to be reckoned with. This summer was all about making history, because for the very first time ever, Spring winners will play to defend their title. For the first time ever, we will have the same IRLs battling for revenge. Both teams will fight to defend the pride of the LFL and the NLC.
2021 has seen the rise of the NLC in Europe, but it hasn't always been like that for Fnatic Rising. The most successful year for Fnatic Rising so far was back in 2019, 2 whole years ago, where the team reached semi-finals back-to-back in both spring and summer, but that is where their journey was cut short twice. Fnatic Rising has had a difficult 2021 season, with Spring finding them 2nd in the NLC, unable to even make it out of play-ins in that split's European Masters. 2021 Spring wasn't much different, as Fnatic Rising were faced with their biggest challenge yet. Veteran mid laner Febiven retired halfway through the NLC split, and 18-year-old rookie Dayor was introduced to step into his shoes. What are the chances, everyone said, that someone with so little competitive experience can be the difference maker? Half a split of competitive play later and countless of Montas-worthy plays, Dayor finds himself in the European Masters Finals. Fnatic Rising have broken the first curse of never making finals. Can they join teams like Big and others for the legendary Plains to Champions run? This is the sole remaining representative of the NLC. Can they do what BTXL could not in spring? Can they break the second curse after the history repeats itself and they will have to face Karmine Corp for the trophy?
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the Baron!
One of the quickest games in competitive history.
How did that connect by Angel?
Welcome to Berlin, Germany for the Amazon EU Masters Finals. 3 weeks ago, 16 teams entered the tournament in the hope of becoming the best IRL, and tonight, only one will get to lift the trophy and become the 2021 Summer Champions. I'm Laure, and today I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with Trouble and Dagda. How hyped are you today?
I can't wait. Finals day is finally here, and especially when we're getting essentially a rematch of the two regions last year, this is so exciting.
I think it always has to come up back to that, right?
Right.
You versus me on the stage, LFL, NLC, I see you.
We've seen that before, but as you said during the duologue, actually the duo we did earlier, will Fnatic Rising be able to do what BTXL couldn't? Before we get to that, let's take a step back and see how we got there with the bracket. Semi-finals earlier this week with KC and Fnatic Rising's making it. Maybe some surprises when you look at the bracket here. First off, it was the first time we had best of fives at the EU Masters. How much of an impact did it have?
I think it's so cool to see teams like Big and Kamekop go the whole distance, full 5 games. A lot of people had in their books that Big was going to make it all the way to the finals. Really fast-paced team. Their macro was impeccable. No one could follow their early game, but Kamekop definitely stepped up and they look as strong as they did back in spring 2021.
Yeah, I mean, it's Trouble said. I mean, look at the semis, right? Going all the way. It was so exciting watching both these sides of the bracket go head-to-head. And then we see Fnatic and Misfits on the bottom side as well. Fnatic really taking it to Misfits Premier. And honestly, a surprise upset. I don't think a lot of people were expecting Fnatic to get to where they are now.
I don't even want to call it an upset given the way the team played. Honestly, they were stellar in the semifinal. But let's take a look at what K-Corp did during the semifinal. I want to say that the player of the series was maybe Cabochard, going from Cabochard to Cabochad. That came with his Lee Sin performance. That was insane.
Yeah, Cabo was an absolute monster. And I think that kind of encompasses the way that we've seen Karmine Corp step up to the plate, right? Like, even when we look back in spring, they were all about that jungle support synergy between Syncroft and Targamas. Now they've just taken that to a new level where they're playing heavily around Cabochard in that top side, setting him up for success. And I mean, look at your screen, you're seeing the results, right?
I feel like the solo laners for Kamekop play a huge role in this team, especially Seiken. Lots of question mark pings coming from the LFL, especially the LFL finals versus Misfits, where they lost really bad. And then coming in here, groups a little bit lukewarm. Is Seiken back in form? The whole Kamekop went into form the second that the playoffs hit. I think especially Syncroft, we put our finger on him as well. We're like, he has literally the 3rd least kill participation in all of junglers, in all of group stage. What is going on? Why is he not participating? Well, I think a demon entered him in that particular semi-final because he was all over the map, almost 100% kill participation every single game. And I feel like Kamekop are activated.
What I really liked about the second semi-final, Misfits Premier versus Fnatic Rising, was the fact that Misfits understood how they could deactivate Misfits actually from the bot lane. Woodite didn't see his Aphelios, and I feel like it's been an issue for him.
Yeah, and I think that was a massive thing, was again the preparation from Fnatic Rising paying off. Playing down towards that bottom side, making sure they could take the Varus, they have full push. And it was about unlocking Rooks from the bot lane while keeping the enemy support there, keeping him locked up, so then they could have the first roam on the map. They could find those early skirmishes and they could find the victory.
Trouble, quick hit on what surprised you the most from the Fnatic Rising side, because I know you know them.
It has to be Dayer. I feel like this guy came in, played his first NLC competitive game. Halfway through the NLC split, he picked Seraphine. He's like, I'll just press my buttons, heal everyone, shield everyone. No, that's not the case in this European Masters. He's brought out the Set, the Renekton, the Sylas, the Twisted Fate, the Rise, everything and anything to create pressure in his lane, bleed it to the sides. You want globals? He has it. You want bruises? He has it. You want melees? He has that too.
We have to appreciate also the work that the coach has been doing, Dagda, especially with the drafts, because they had answers to everything Misfits Premier were throwing at them.
Yeah, I think Daylor really did put in the work for Fnatic Rising, and I think this also says to kind of the story that we got after the fact was that, hey, look, we've seen these two teams face off a lot in scrims. It's been going pretty poorly for Misfits Premier, and Fnatic Rising knew what they're coming up against, and you could see that in the game plan, right? Make sure we get that Varus in the bottom lane. Make sure we've got Cabochard comfortable in that top lane, and always trying to see if they could have the first move from the mid. It made it nigh on impossible for Misfits Premier to fight back.
There was 2 insane semi-finals, and it comes down to this in our semi-finals today. What a journey it's been. Time to celebrate the EU Masters and see how we got there.
Two of the most impressive teams we've seen here, EU Masters Summer 2021. Syncroft has managed to get the kill on Atuka Sings Rakan as he stands strong. 1-1 goes down. That's the ultimate coming through with X-Mani, breaking up the fight and catching onto Attila, who's going to be executed by LeBlanc, who's still alive, ladies and gentlemen.
He's in a little bit of trouble. Teleport going to be committed. Another teleport. Oh, face breaker just means everything for the side of Fnatic Rising. A triple kill for Pride.
Back off. Seiken now just gets another hook shot immediately into the Hextech ultimatum, though Seiken positioning, but it doesn't matter. Look at this man, Machine Gun Rise comes through there, and everybody doubles down on top of Big.
No way, shape, or form in any trouble, but a TP came in from Marky on the top side. Dior jumps straight in on top of it. It's going to be 4 members trying to jump onto him. He flashes away and he gets shut. Coming in. Gnar, ult is huge, right into the Magnet Storm, and that's going to be enough to really seal the fate of this game. The heartbreaker for Maxplore. You tried, but it's just not enough. Kensuke and Benzer are the only ones left alive for Movistar.
Great pull in, and then trying to find some time for Matty. He gets shut down by Akabane for the time being, but the rest of Cabochard and Casey are coming in. Seiken is there, the Emperor's Divide is coming through. He's bought some space, but not enough as Akabane is still going. Seiken trying to find his last blows, and Cabochard will clean up.
It's an all-in from Wallite in the bottom side. 1v1 between the AD carry. Wins it, smashing right-click, but it's been the win. He's already got a serrated node.
This is a really important dragon for everybody involved. Rika looks like he's teleporting back into the fight over the dragon pool right now. Kamiko, that is the kick. Kenui, Fog focused out by himself, but he's still alive for the time being. Now Rika coming in, looking for an engage. Has the other frost available? Really in the middle of the Emperor's Divide is there, but no one there to follow up on the damage. And the True Shot barrage is absolutely flooding that team. Carmine Corp absolutely rinsed.
Hook goes in onto Jack Troll. Rumble going to come on through as well. Jack Troll flashes away, jumps away, tries to keep himself safe, but he's blown up and Dayor survives barely for Wallite. Outside of the Lev's respite, he's got empty, can't close the gap. Wallite ready to finish it, the kill. Fnatic Rising have done it. The hook goes through. The Nexus will fall.
And this is it for the French LFL reigning champions. The Ultras have done it again.
What a way to get hyped about this final. Amazing job from the video team here with this highlights montage of the best plays we had during the EU Masters, and also watching one of them, especially Cabochard with his Renekton, gave me Adam vibes from summer and how from spring, and how he was able to split team fights and just turn everything his favor.
I don't think we should be allowed to show these videos.
Right?
League with Cabochard playing League. I felt filthy just watching them.
Well, let's talk about the journey for Pigor actually, because they changed their top laners from spring to summer. Adam joining Fnatic. How much different is the team right now? Because in the LFL, they didn't win. Misfits did. So going into the EU Masters, I wasn't sure of what to expect from the team like that.
Yeah, for me, I feel like this is still a very similar team to what we saw in spring, right? Playing very heavily through Syncroft and Targamas. I think they're the best kind of jungle support that we have right now in EU Masters. But I think the big upgrade that you talked about was having Cabochard step into that top lane. And that's not a diss at Adam. It's just Cabochard and his flexibility when it comes to his champion pool has really leveled up this team. And it's why, even though we saw spring first place both in the regular split and also then in playoffs, we come into the regular split in summer, they get first, and I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed in Carmine Corp's performance when we got towards the finals for summer.
I feel like the two weak sides that Adam and Cabochard are playing right now are completely different, because Adam would have the wacky picks, he would quite die a lot on the side lane while absorbing a lot of pressure. I think the difference between him and Cabo is Cabo absorbs the pressure without the deaths. He's just a veteran that's walked into the team, and I feel like they can rely on him to put him on a side lane and actually perform, absorb the pressure, and then come out of the lane being this massive monster. And don't even get me started on his champion pool, because he can literally play everything.
But I want to get you started on Syncroft though, because when you have such a different top laner, it's going to have an impact on the rest of the map, obviously. Coming from the jungle, I feel like Syncroft evolved this summer to becoming maybe more selfish in the sense that he can rely more on his solo lanes.
Yeah, I think that's the big one for me. We've kind of seen that shift away from, hey, these heavy farm-orientated junglers into these more early aggressive junglers that facilitate their laners. And that's been Syncroft's strengths, right? Is linking up with Targamas, playing around these solo laners. And now that they're actually able to feed into that style, they've only leveled up massively. It really feels like this meta suits this team down to the ground.
Now, what about Fnatic Rising? Because there's something that comes to my mind when I think about this team, always the bright bridesmaid, never the bride. Yep. Maybe this time is their chance, Trouble.
NLC Spring, NLC Summer, always second seed, losing to VTXL back in spring, losing to Trick now in summer, but they're the ones that made it all the way again to the finals. And a lot of people are seeing Fnatic Rising as underdogs. I see them as underdogs too. For me, Fnatic Rising is the dark horse of the European Masters. All the NLC KWs are not there, obviously without a reason. We saw them through the NLC. It felt a little bit complicated. They didn't know exactly how they want to play their game. And of course, having Febiven as the veteran, you sort of structure your game of how you want to play around that big core. Now that that core is out and Dayer has come in, I feel like they have had the chance to experiment with so many different playstyles. The 1-3-1s, the heavy dive towards the mid lane, the heavy split towards the side lanes. I feel like this is a Fnatic Rising that's experimenting to find their identity.
And that's the big one for me, is actually like seeing that growth over the course of EU Masters. When you've only got a little bit of time to actually, slot in a new mid laner and get it to work together, you're going to have problems. And even Megalodontis did an interview with Daylord where he was talking about this, saying, hey, we have big issues, they're pretty glaring, but we've solved them over the course of EU Masters. And that's what we're seeing, right, where they're exceptional. If you look at Game 5 from the semi-finals, some of the best 1-3-1 I've seen, some of the best map control I've seen, and they're starting to cross-map a lot better. It's phenomenal how much Fnatic Rising have grown over the course of this tournament.
And as Trouble was mentioning, the fact that you lose a veteran like Febiven, you're going to miss a strong voice, maybe, looking at this team. But when you look at the way they play together and how they act around the map, who do you think took charge of this leadership role?
I might have my eyes on Maxi because he seems to be the initiator a lot of times. Yeah. But my brain also thinks like late game may be Pride because he plays a lot of picks like the now where they dictate when he wants to go in, where he doesn't. So I'm not necessarily sure who could be the shot caller, but my brain goes completely top side of the map.
Well, we'll find out. Maybe we'll have more answers about this later today. But before the series, I caught up with Pride to actually talk about the game, ask him how he was doing and how he was getting ready for today. Let's check out what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited to face K-Corp. It's really the only obstacle that we haven't been able to take this split. It's the first time we're facing them this year, actually, in competitive, so I'm very excited. Yeah,
and it's going to be a rematch of Spring in the sense that LFL goes against the NLC. But I want to talk about Fnatic Rising and the journey that you guys went through to get there, changing mid laners throughout the course of the split, going from being the underdogs to finally reaching the finals. What's your take on the journey you had so far?
Yeah, we have definitely had a very, very crazy journey, I would say. After losing to Tricked, everyone's morale was very down. I think in the end, it was actually a good thing that we were able to go through the play-ins with Dayer, getting him the experience that he needs. We played over 35 competitive matches to get until this point. Yeah. So in the end, I actually think this was the best path for us as a team to improve. And we had a lot of challenges, a lot of ups and downs. And so far, we've overwhelmed them all. And now K-Corp is the last one standing.
Where would you see the biggest improvements for the team and for yourself also?
I think for us, it has actually always been mainly a confidence issue, at least personally. I feel like we were at times very unconfident in our own play. This comes from like scrim results or like dropping some games in NLC, right? But the moment we started simplifying our drafts, our preparation, our gameplay, our reviews, it all started clicking together. We all started to build a lot of synergy together. Everything is going really, really good with Ollie. We developed, I think, a very, very just good team atmosphere now.
Yeah, and when I think about the semifinals, for instance, I can't help but think about the amount of preparation and how stellar it was, especially from the drafts, which is, I think, going to be an interesting point today. Tell me more about the preparation against K-Corp and how you may win the match today.
Yeah, so obviously we have prepared against K-Corp, but we are mainly in the end focusing on ourselves, focusing on trying to get what we consider good for us, what we consider strong for us, what has always worked for us, right? We did not do any crazy preparation or anything. We just like to keep it simple, and that's how we've been doing it the entire tournament. That's what has been working, so we did not change it.
All right. Well, I remember during semifinals we played a video from you that was from summer. Actually, you were saying that playing without fear, playing as the underdog, actually was really good for you because you played without pressure. Do you have the same feeling going into today?
Yeah, definitely. K-Corp is an organization. They've won Spring Split. They have so many fans. It's crazy. Twitter is flooded all the time. I think they are for sure considered to win this by the fans at least. But I think people will be surprised at how good we will perform. And people are underestimating us as well. We have a lot of momentum coming in from the planes, and we're looking to take it all.
Well, I can't wait to see what you guys can do today. Again, Pride, thank you so much for the interview, and best of luck against K-Corp.
Thank you very much.
There was a lot of information here about how they got there, how the team improved, especially through communication. And Trouble, you've been, again, commenting this team for a split. When you hear Pride talk like this, thinking about the beginning of the split and how the team was doing, what kinds of improvements can you see?
I feel like Pride has always been very humble. Even when he has like this big pop-off moment, it's like, he's like, it's all about the team. It's all about making sure we communicate, simplifying how we want to play the game. And I feel like even though they've simplified the way they think about the game, this is where they shine the most, because 1-3-1s are not easy to execute. You're not simplifying the game. You're making it more complicated because you have to coordinate so many factors all at once. Playing the side lane pressure, playing the globals, playing all for mid lane. I feel like their game has gotten more complicated to decipher from other teams, but they somehow have managed to simplify it. And I'm loving this. I'm like, if this is simplifying something, go and simplify everything.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see again what this team has in stock for us today. But before we take a deeper look on this matchup, I want to take a look on socials and what happened on socials lately, because someone has a hard time finding his allegiance again and supporting the right team. Adam earlier this week said, for the EU Masters Finals, I will support whoever pays me more. Business is business. Money, family, what's going on here?
It's so hard to call though, right? Like, it's like, all right, well, you know, I've moved on. I'm on Fnatic. We've joined the LEC.
This
but
is so
like,
hard.
this is, as you say, like your heart is still in France. Your heart is still part of the LFL. So I don't know. I don't envy Adam. Like, this has got to be like choosing between like your dad and your mom. It's just not easy.
Exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't like to be in his position. But he did this to himself. I mean, tweeting about it. But yeah, it got the reactions he wanted on social media. Moving on to the second tweet we have. We talked about this before. Fnatic Rising with the silly dragons. Not so silly after the series they played Trouble.
I think if they stay like this dragon right there and it's like, don't worry guys, it was just a coincidence we won, don't worry about us at all, you don't have to look too much into it. Certus even said, oh, Dayer, I haven't really looked much into his gameplay, maybe he should have, because it turns out that the silly dragon turned into the other angry one.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, if Fnatic Rising go into this as the underdogs without pressure, that's the best thing they can do.
And Misfits, last tweet we have for you today. This is fine.
Was it?
None of that was fine, Trouble. None of that was fine. It was supposed to be a quick, swift best of 5, 3-0 in favor of Misfits. 5 games, 5 banger games, Dagda, but still, I mean, a bit of a read.
Yeah, I don't think it aged particularly well. Like, you know, it was all fine, 2-0 down, and you're like, oh no, what have we done? What has happened? And I mean, fair play to Fnatic Rising, right? They really did put the fire under them. They really did push them to the end. And unfortunately, Misfits Premier Game 5, they just couldn't find that victory.
Yeah, and still we have a strong-looking team right now today in the summer finals. And I want to talk about the mid laner, the one who replaced Febiven, because usually the EU Masters is the stage where you discover new players, maybe players we might see in the LEC next year, Trouble. And give me your take on Dayor and what we can expect from him afterwards.
All right, let's go for a very quick LEC scouting report, because we've talked so much about how important it is to slot out a veteran and slot in a rookie. All eyes on him. What do they bring to the team that is so important that they're going to be irreplaceable? Here, I've got 2 clips for you from Dayer to show you exactly what he does and how much pressure he exerts on the map. And he allows Fnatic Rising to do whatever the F they want on the other side of the map. So I'm going to bring the minimap up right here. And as you will see, the whole of Fnatic Rising are over on the top side of the map. This one should work. There we go. The whole of Fnatic Rising is on the top side of the map, whilst Dayer is on the bot side of the map, ready to get collapsed on by 2 members of Misfits Premier. So what is Dayer going to do? He's trying to keep as much pressure on the bot side of the map as possible, keeping them there while his team is doing their thing on the top side of the map. He's going to dodge both ultis, he's going to dodge the Jinx ultimate, he's going to force 2 flashes from the jungle and top lane of Misfits Premier, and look on the other side of the map. They just got the Rift Herald. Now, why this is very important is because while this play was going on, Fnatic Rising are looking at the mid lane tower. Once you open the map, it's going to be so much easier to control inside the jungle. So as I keep on playing this, you'll see that they're thinking about pushing, but the second that they know that the Kennen has no flash, no ult, no flash onto the Kindred, Misfits Premier can no longer fight them. So they group up as 3, they pop down the Rift Herald, and they take mid lane tower. And you can see, even when the Kennen starts joining them in the mid, they actually do not care about this at all, because again, no flash, no ultimate, he is not a threat. They will take the mid lane tower, and they will break open that lane, which means they can then bleed their pressure inside the Misfits Premier jungle. Now, the second clip is a little bit more aggressive for Dayer, and this is where the individual talent shines a little bit more. So I want you to all pay attention onto this guy right here, which is Certus on that LeBlanc. He has his Banshees, very important, and he also is one of the most fed members at this point for the Misfits Premier roster. So what he's going to try to do, he's going to see Rax on the side, and his eyes are on Bean. If he can trade the ADC out of position, that means that Misfits Premier can do whatever they want on the map. Yes? Well, no. Because when he tries to trade with Bean at this exact point right here, what happens is that Dayer is going to pop Twisted Fate ultimate, which completely nullifies the Banshees. And what does Dayer do? He has his sights on Certus' LeBlanc, who has already used the W, flashes after him. If that LeBlanc is dead, that means that they can move into the river where Misfits Premier do not have any setup for. As you can see, Fnatic Rising will start the Baron, and something very important to notice is that Rax is sitting on the side. Whoever decides to walk in from Misfits Premier is going to be faced with a really nice engage coming out from the Rel, who still has ultimate up and available. And that's exactly what's going to happen. At this point, Misfits Premier have put themselves in a 3 versus 5 situation. Fnatic Rising obviously are going to win this fight, and right after this, they're going to take the Baron. So I feel Dayer is such a key component for Fnatic Rising. Do you want him to play facilitator for you and play the bait on the side lane? He will do, he will not die. Do you want him to give him all agency and allow him to make his plays? He will get you the Barons.
That's what I find interesting and really impressive with this player, is the fact that he came up at a very difficult time for Fnatic Rising, losing Febiven once again, and he doesn't shy away from playing some very interesting picks. You don't just see him on control mages. I mean, look at the champion pool behind him. Irelia, Sett, Renekton. He's a complete player, Doctor.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to me because, as you can see behind you, obviously a little bit more facilitator, right? We're seeing him now move away from things like the Sett and the bruisers like the Renekton in towards the Rises, the Twisted Fates, these more kind of meta picks. But when you look towards like his CS difference of 15, he's actually behind in lane. But when you look at his gold per minute, he's the top gold per minute earner out of every mid laner that we have in EU Masters. And this is because he's not focused on the lane. What he wants to do is beat you everywhere else on the map and then bring that home to the mid lane and go, cool, man, what are you going to do now? You've got nothing on me.
And on the other side, today, facing off against him, you're going to have Seiken, and I just want to touch on the memes about Seiken. For him to be bad, you just have to ban Ryze, you have to ban Cassiopeia, you have to ban basically all the champions. He can play anything.
About 150,
about 150 champions, yeah, and then Seiken becomes useless. But I mean, Azir he's been stellar on, but it's not the only champions he's been amazing on. When you look at the side of K-Corp and the 100% win rate champions they have, you have the Renektons, you have the Lee Sins, LeBlanc, Varus, Leona. These are the champions that we're looking to ban maybe today, Trouble.
I feel like my eyes go straight onto that LeBlanc. I feel like he's been stellar on that champion. He feels unstoppable. No matter what champion any team has put against Seiken's LeBlanc, he will always find a way to kill them, and then he will take all this lead, all this gold, and slap it onto the opponent ADC. And from there on out, we've seen teams that were completely unable to play Seiken's LeBlanc to the point where it would have to be 100% banned. The reason why this guy has 100% win rate on this LeBlanc is I feel like the pick just fits him so much. He likes to trade, and once he likes to trade, he will go to the sides, and then he will find his way to play behind the ADC. I felt like this was taken from 2021 spring as well. You'd put him on an assassin, he'd find the flank. You'd put him on an enchanter, he'd play the front to back. You would put him on a tank, he would find your engage, and I feel like this is what he's so good at adapting at the exact pick that he has in hand. Yeah,
I will also say the 14 KDA he has in LeBlanc probably helps out a little bit. Like, it's a little bit disgusting, but as you can see from all the champions that are behind me, right, there's one key factor about all of them. They're all these crazy aggressive early game champions, and that allows Karmine Corp to go for aggressive trades on towards the top side, working with Renekton, LeBlancs. You look at the Lee Sin, a 9 KDA. You look at the Varus, a 13.4 KDA for Xmadi there as well. It gives them so much control over the map in these early stages where they can pop off.
Let's move on to the other other side of the map now. Bot lane, Maddie versus Bean. We know how Bean was pivotal in the matchup last time against Misfits Premier. How is it going to go against Maddie today?
Yeah, I think the big one for me is that when I look towards the kind of mini meta that Penguin loves to use, that we saw evolve within that series in the semi-final for Fnatic Rising was, oh, we want to take the Varus. We want to have a lot of control over on this bottom side of the map, get the push, and unlock our support Rooks, so then he can start roaming around the map. Instead, though, I think when you come into a series against Karmine Corp, I think xMatty is probably the best AD carry that we have, but also the best AD carry that we have at controlling and managing waves. So he's more willing to take things like the Ezreal into the bottom lane, and will still find ways to unlock targets from that bottom lane, so you don't have as much priority onto things like the Varus.
We'll see how it goes for both teams. I'm sorry, trouble, but we have plenty of post-game to break all this down.
It's fine. He thinks xMatty is better. We'll see.
We'll see about that in a couple minutes, actually, because it all comes down to this in our EU Masters Summer Finals, the revenge matchup between the NLC and LFL. Time to send it over to the casters for Game 1.
Thank you so much, Lore. I am joined by Goldberg. Oh, you're real.
I'm back.
Huh? You're here.
I am.
Welcome. Between, you know, I'm in a glass case of emotion because, you know, it's an emotional reunion between us, but it's not about us today. It's about this game coming in today. Obviously, Karmine Corp, the fan favorites coming into it, but I gotta say, Fnatic Rising have looked genuinely scary coming into the knockout stage specifically.
I feel like that what you're saying right now is something we've heard throughout the entire tournament as well. Oh, Fnatic, they're coming in as the underdog. We heard it in quarters, we heard it in semis, and now we're standing here once again in the finals. And yes, this is Karmine Corp, but we kind of said the same thing about Misfits.
I mean, honestly, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, but we're not going to waste any more of your time. We're going to jump straight into picks and bans. Karmine Corp have gone with the blue, Fnatic Rising on the red. What are you expecting to see? What are you seeing priority being put on now for these two teams?
I think it's going to be very interesting. I think there's a few things we've seen be a priority for both teams, especially some of the AD carries, the Varus, but we also take a look on towards the mid lane matchup. We know both of them very much like the Twisted Fate, very much like the Rise, but also Saken's LeBlanc is something he's been extremely scary on, and something in the LFL playoffs where it was 100% banned against him.
I mean, it has to be. It's something that he's got so much priority on, not only for solo kills, but then roaming around that map, affecting those side lanes. We are seeing the traditional maxi ban of the Nidalee. You do not want to give him something that he's super comfortable on and can create pressure around the map. We are going to see the Aurelia and the Thresh rounding this one out, and the Lee Sin. So a couple of things going to be left open here from both sides.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting now, because now you're left open with the option of, is there any other OP we want to jungle in terms of the jungle, with Viegos and Sao still being up, or is it the AD carries like the Aphelios, like the Varus that we want to go for? But no, they're going to leave them both open to trade, and then Viego now only offers the one.
I love this, though. Going for the first pick, Jarvan, saying, look, we know you might want to go for something like a Kennen. We know that that's something you love to just, like, you know, get last pick on there for Pride. We're not allowing it because that is still a flex right until the end. So Karmine Corp coming in strong. But like you said, things like the Varus, the Aphelios has come in as well. That's a huge pick for these teams. And not only that as well, but even things like the Viego, a massive power pick in this meta, just being let through.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you're completely right about it, Jarvan. We've seen Capuchat Palia up in the top lane, but we've also seen Syncroft rocket into jungle. It's going to be that Varus, and right now during the laning phase with Hail of Blades, he kind of just seems unrivaled in terms of actually trading, and that's why I think it's going to be very important between the two AD carries in terms of they're going to be left alone. The supports are going to be out roaming on the map. It's about that agency you have for yourself. Mano, xMatty versus Bean.
Yeah, there's the two power picks you just talked about there. The Varus being picked up there have been fantastic for Bean pretty much throughout the knockout stage, and the Viego, it's just too powerful to not pick up. It has such a great skirmishing presence that when it gets those resets going, you just can't really deal with it. It becomes from a snowball to an avalanche very, very quickly.
Definitely. So there's a lot of response picks you can't go for. Aphelios has been one of them, but the Ezreal from Matty is also a champion that he has liked to default on. And then with the mid lane matchups we mentioned that was still up and available, the Rise has come through from Saken now, who he's, you know, quite known for at this point as well.
I mean, honestly, the three major picks that I look at in terms of the meta right now, it's LeBlanc, it's Syndra, and it's Rise. Those are the three big things. And then you can throw in Twisted Fate there as a kind of a response as such to go into things. And speaking of which, we get the card dealer himself, the little hustler, going in now for Dior, and that's, again, another global pressure. So both these mid laners are going to be very pivotal to see how these teams are able to interact in the early game.
But this is definitely something you have to go for as Fnatic as well. When we hear the interview with Pride, when we heard about interviews with D-Lord as well, it's about this comfort for these guys. It's about the simplicity. And right now, they are on the Twisted Faith is comfort. Maxi on Viego and Bean on towards the Varus, it's just clear-cut Fnatic. And now the bans are getting thrown out. You can see the Bard being removed as well from Targamos. And then, obviously, Pride getting that GP take it away from him as well.
Yeah, and I do love the kind of side right now. Karmine Corp can still put that Jarvan into the jungle. It can still go topside, but they're saying, look, we're either going to force you into a bad top lane pick, or we're going to get the last good one going. So we are going to see that final pick for Fnatic Rising be the topside jungle or topside counter pick into whatever Karmine Corp want to go for. But honestly, I'm looking at both compositions, and I feel like both teams are getting very good comps for what they've shown they're good at throughout the tournament.
I think depending on the open hand that we obviously had here, both teams have got something that they want, and the Leona pickup now on the 4th, it's just great because you've removed the Wraith of Thresh, or K-Corp removed the Wraith of Thresh earlier, one of the biggest threats to this Leona. Then you can choose to answer the aggression with Nautilus, with Alistar, something like that as well. Or you could even go for Tarkamas Pyke, although it's going to be a bit risky into all the CC that we're seeing right now in Fnatic's composition.
Not only that, but you got a lot of distance with the Varus and the Twisted Fate once he gets that rapid fire cannon. If you get engaged upon, which the Leona will be able to do, not really many options for you to go for. Could be a ballsy pick, but we'll see if he does end up locking that one in. It is a Renekton going up into the top side, you would imagine. I've heard whispers of a Renekton jungle, but I don't think that's right now, as we're going to see the set getting locked in here. So good engage coming in now alongside that Jarvan to lock people up and get them into that dominance for the Renekton to wreck face.
Definitely, is that immobility we see on a lot of these champions, and right now towards the bottom lane, you have loads of CC set up. You already have the set to come in through it. You have the Jarvan with the ganks, and as soon as Realm Womb is going to be active, I think for both team compositions with the globals you already talk about, Penguin here, it's going to be very skirmish heavy.
I mean, I'm looking at this. Nara, the last pick here for Pride. We knew that counter pick was coming in. They've got a little bit of extra engage going in now with the Leona, but again, both these teams, they're going to want to be scrappy in this early game.
Definitely, and you know what? I kind of like this Nara as well coming in from Fnatic, because I was a bit worried for Pride going into this series as well. He's been struggling against some of the other top laners because he's usually not getting a lot of resources. Capo, on the other hand, have had an insane tournament so far.
Yeah, he really, really has. And of course, Pride has been... To say he's been playing weak side has been a compliment, shall we say. He has not gotten much attention at all, but it has all been around, honestly, someone we haven't even really talked about, Rux roaming around. It's going to be about Targamas and Rux getting out of that bot side and affecting those side lanes to just, you know, get themselves the advantage. Both these teams have an insane number of wins when they have a lead of 15.
Definitely, I think... Now, with the mid lane pressure as well to come through, that is going to be something that's going to be pivotal against this one, because you have the Ryze, you have Deo, who's been able to have some really good roams, but now as a mid laner, you're going up against Seiken. You're going up against some of the best that we've had at all, and I feel like with the amount of pressure that you're going to have to withstand, it's not only in the matchup, it's in the mental capacity as well.
Absolutely, we're going to have to keep a very keen eye on exactly how it all goes down, but one and all, we are jumping onto the Rift for Game 1 of the Amazon EU Masters 2021 Summer Finals. Karmine Corp of the LFL going up against Fnatic Rising of the NLC. And momentum is everything. Momentum is huge for both these teams. We talked about how important it is for them to get out of the gate early, but even just looking at their series as well, when they're feeling their mojo, when they're pushing forward, these teams do look unstoppable.
Definitely, and I think especially in the early game, we have to take a look at these junglers, where that pathing is coming from, especially from Syncroft on a champion like Jarvan. He's very reliant in the early game to get one of these early ganks of hell. In the past, he used to be known for these level 2 ganks to come through after red buff as well, so Syncroft's pathing, definitely something to keep an eye out to see what lane he wants to influence on the side of Karmine Corp.
And looking at the two compositions, where are you expecting to see the early action? Are you expecting us to see trading? What do you want to see from these two teams?
I mean, definitely from the side of Fnatic, we already know they're about a lot of this simplicity, right? We already know they like to go for their clear-cut win conditions, and I feel like with the amount of CC you have down towards this bottom lane, with the Twisted Fave in the mid lane, and already a favorable matchup from Pride where he should be able to contain himself, you want to put a lot of this attention towards the bottom side of the map. You want to shut down the Ezreal, and not because you just want to push him away, but because you want to get Bean so far ahead so he's put in a comfortable position for this mid game.
See how it all ends up going. Of course, we are going to see the mid laners just going with the Corrupting Pot for the Twisted Fate. He's looking to just push it in, get that reset going early so we can get back onto the map, whereas we do see the early Mana Crystal here for the Seiken, so looking for an early tier. Again, just looking to stack up and get himself into that machine gun Ryze we all know and love.
Yeah, definitely. You can already see where Syncroft is starting as well. He started towards his bot side. He let his bot lane leash because he knows they're going to get pushed in anyway, so you might as well get some health on the Jarvan clear to get him up towards this top side of the map, where you can already see Kappa in the early levels has actually maintained control of the top waves.
Let's get him there. Syncroft is going to be moving his way up there, whereas we are going to see Maxi on the other side, starting from top to bottom. So good to see the junglers going towards what we call their strengths, because again, if you're able to get that Viego with the DC you have set up in that bot side, can lead to a lethal combination. But Karmine Corp probably going to be able to play this one safe, and we probably, I say probably because you never know with these teams, we probably will not see much action until those first dragons, first Rift Heralds start popping up.
Yeah, I think level 6 specifically for these mid laners are going to be absolutely crucial, just because that's where they really start to get online with their ultimates. And now on the other side, Max, you can see he's pathing down towards the bottom side as well. So these junglers right now, they're just kind of handshaking the pathing. They're just going to not have any Scuttle skirmishes. Syncroft up towards the top side, Maxi towards the bottom. And then with Seiken having this push priority in the mid lane, he's going for a little bit of a cheater recall to get an early tier going for him. I think, oh, I say that, he actually cancelled his recall.
Yeah, you think that's Dior trying to go back as well. Just says, look, I'm not going to let this freeze. He recognizes that, says, look, I just got to give it a little bit of a more push, get myself back, shouldn't be a problem at all. And I do want to highlight Dior. They obviously highlighted him on the analyst desk as well, but this man has gone from zero to hero in such a short amount of time. His honestly meteoric rise to the top of the European ERL scene has just been crazy. The guy has only been around for, what, a couple of months?
And it's just the fact that he came in as well when Feppivin was stepping down, but we're going to have to hold on that because bot lane's moving.
They're going to try and punish Seiken, keeping himself in this lane. Seiken not got a lot of mana going. They do have a flash here. Going to flash forward. Going to force the flash out of the rise. They flash in. They get the root down. They're just waiting for Rux to be here, but I don't even think they need him. Never mind. First blood goes down. Fnatic Rising, first to strike.
And you can see how much it meant for Fnatic to shut him down as well. 3 flashes coming out from the roster here. The bot lane priority we talked about, but it's not done yet, Penguin. They're going up towards the top side.
They're going to force TPs out. Syncroft just saying, look, we got the one out. They're going to still commit to this one here. They are not going to be able to get the knockup going, but they are actually able to get him going completely. It was in the mid lane. Targamas stopped the TP.
Huge from Targamas as well. Rox came up with the roam. Targamas wanted to answer. Dayo TPing in the middle of the wave and is easily stopped here. So Pride being forced to TP back. This could be a trap.
Oh, it's a tilt-a-port. It's a tilt-a-port. Pride's going to come back in. Now flash away. There's the flag and drag coming out. Cabochard taking a lot of damage here. Needs to be very, very careful. There will be resets available to Maxi. There's one. And Rux is here. Oh, Karmine Corp, you've just stayed a little bit too far. We are going to see Syncroft getting himself up with the flag and drag, but I think Seiken is forsaken, and that's going to be a fantastic response here for Fnatic Rising.
Yeah, definitely huge, because there's losing mid lane waves as well. But Matty, he gets bean in a solo kill, and that's what we talked about with the AD carries as well. This final 5 minutes into the game, 5 kills. It's not slowing down.
It's not slowing down. I do not envy our observers to try and bring us back into this one there. But again, action all around. Let's see how it works on the top side, with Targum is basically stopping the response.
Yeah, but I definitely love that we once again see Rox out on the roaming. He's a support that we haven't really talked all too much, because Targamas, we always talk about him. But Rox, with the bot lane priority from Bean, is able to be here and bait out the dive coming in again. And then let's see what happens down here.
Thanks, Maddie. Just looks like Bean thinks he has it, but great flash over the wall. Just means Bean cannot get that extra auto attack off. Wins the 1v1 in the bot side. And oh my God, Goldberg, it is action all over. Neither of these teams are living an inch out for the other players.
Oh, they're definitely not. And so nice by Matty flashing in to the fog of war, so no auto attacks could be connected by Beam, who it looked like was winning that exchange. What we'd usually see with the Varus matchup, it's why it has such a high priority, but now Capo with a stacked wave. He's level 6 to Pride's level 5 and being zoned away now, Pride.
Yeah, and this is the counter pick that Pride opted into. It is, as we mentioned, something that Pride does. He plays weak side. He plays to say, look, I'm just going to get things stacked against me. They're going to put stuff towards him. But on the other side, Karmine Corp are no strangers to putting resources into Cabochard.
And that's the thing you're seeing right now. If you paid attention to the minimap, Seiken, he pushed in the middle lane, moved up towards the top side. Syncroft was there as well. Down towards the bottom side, obviously Fnatic.
There we go. We're going to see there the Dominus pop, but Cabochard in a lot of trouble. Still has his flash available to him. The Dragon does go down in favor of Fnatic Rising. Cabochard playing a little bit with fire, but Fnatic Rising get the objective and they keep their top laner safe.
But it's so huge still, because that's Destiny down now in Synchro, or Cabochard rather. Didn't even have to burn his flash. Look at this CS difference between Pride and between Cabochard. He was zoned away from the minion game because he had to fight.
Flag and drag into the Realm Warp. There's going to be a gold card there. Seiken will take 2 turret hits, but it will not matter. shutdown going over to the Rise, and again, it's tit for tat. It's your move, my move, but it's all about the reactions and how you make advantages happen.
And it's no longer just about your blue side or red side jungle. Karmine Corp just owns the top side. That is where they're fair. And then down towards the bottom side, you can see Maxi. He's clearing out the red side jungle there. So they just completely split open the map in trying to go for what their win conditions here, where obviously on K-Corp's side, we're still talking about Pride, but Pride now, no flash, has just reached level 6, but a return gang could come up now, knowing that there's no TP from Daya, knowing that the Destiny Gate will be down as well. So from the side of Fnatic now, you have to watch out. Every time Saking is pushing in this mid lane, you have to pay attention to where he is going.
Absolutely. You can see there, we actually saw Cabochard almost setting up a freeze in that top side. And yes, Saken will get the wave pushed into him, but he's all of a sudden getting into that machine gun Rise territory where he's able to clear out those waves fairly easily. Cabochard going in for a pretty decent trade. Will get a level up as well on his way out. And Mininar is still going to struggle.
Definitely, but now 8 minutes soon closing in. You can see Rift Herald is about to spawn, and because of this, Rox is already out on the map yet again. Targamas, he is answering on the roam, and all of a sudden you have a standoff going up in this mid lane to try and get the priority around this Rift Herald, which Fnatic right now has secured with that pink wards.
I will say right now Xmadi has the push, so he's also level 6, but Rox goes straight in. They don't have the gold card just yet. Syncroft is dead, and they get the reset, the double flag and drag. They're going to have to use the face breaker and the haymaker, but Targamas just about survives. Pride almost got his Mega Nard just yet. We're going to see the Heartbreaker over the end of the wall. He goes into Mega. Rooks flashes away. They're still trying to burn down this massive crocodile. And they will get him with the chain CC. Fnatic rising, perfectly layering it.
Is it perfect? Is it luck? It doesn't matter. Fnatic, they get the job done. And all of a sudden, they have built a goal lead up for themselves in a play they opted in for as well. They set up the Rift Herald. They came first with the vision control. And because of this, they're able to skirmish around the fog of war that K-Corp had to come in and face check.
And just, again, really good coordination there. And again, someone we talk about, Rooks, on that Leona, it wasn't about the bot laners in a 2v2. It's about the supports roaming around, affecting those lanes. And that's twice Rooks has just been ahead of Targamas.
Definitely, and it feels like we finally get to a point now where we can slow it down, maybe just a little bit, because of how much fighting there's actually been. But the objectives, they're still out on the map here with this top side and the Rift Herald. And because of this, once again, the AD carries, that's a 1v1 lane. It doesn't matter about the supports. They need to be out on the map to roam, to secure the control for the rest of the team.
And that's the big thing. That's why Varus has been such a huge pick for Bean in this tournament, because it means that it opens up Rooks. It lets him go roaming, and that's where Fnatic Rising have found their early leads. Like we mentioned, these are two teams that love to get that early advantage, that look their strongest when they're able to snowball that advantage in their favor, and that's why both of these teams are just going for the throat right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. It is also just the fact that no team is really willing to cross-map him. You can see Rox here put up on a lot of vision, and now the question is, will K-Corp finally strike down on Bean? Because you can see Targamas moving down with the Scuttle, Syncroft right now, clearing the Croc camps, and Saking now got the priority. He has the Realm Orb. Beam, he needs to watch out here.
He needs to get himself out. We're going to see the Hex flash over the wall. Targamas is going to try and keep him away. Bean doesn't want to lose this big wave that's crashing in. There's a Destiny Gate to try and just reveal everyone. He knows there are 4 people on this bot side. They have got TPs available as well, but the Realm Orb hasn't been used. It will be used just now. 2 people coming in now, and Bean, you use heal, but you have no way out. Xmadi almost 1v1s him, and that is just a very, very easy punish coming out for Karmine.
Yeah, what a disrespect from Bean as well. He saw all of them there. Rise will always be ready with the Realm Orb, so I don't know why he didn't just cut his losses, let his team take control over the top side, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're getting the Rift Herald, they're getting to make a play on Capo, but you had to embrace the weak side there.
You had to embrace the weak side. Unfortunately, he just wasn't willing or able to do it. We are going to see a little bit of a dive come in. Ooh, Pride misses, and they miss the CC as well. They're going to try and jump down on top of him. They will get the resets coming in. Now Saken, a little bit unfortunate to get himself just a little bit too late, but we'll trade it 1 for 1.
Yeah, definitely, but it seems like they're still getting chased down in the river a little bit. Syncroft, though, forced to back out here. Really nicely done. Oh, he's flashing in!
Flash over, has got the Cataclysm if he wants it, but he does not need it. He does not have it, excuse me. He's yet to going in straight away off of that. They pick up another kill. We're back to 6-6, even kills. This game is just on a knife's edge.
And this finals is already delivering. We can take it back to that dive. Cabo doing an excellent job of dodging out on the ultimate from Pride. You can argue Pride should have been a bit closer, but outside of that fact, Cabo, he stayed alive, and they're able to turn the dive around here, and I do believe we are having a replay for it to come through.
And again, this is just really good happy feet from Cabochard. Breaks the waves, so they say, look, even if you do dive me, there's not going to be any tanking. Misses the Nara ultimate, they miss the W as well. And this is just Syncroft coming in. They can see the TP's almost there. It's just on vision. They know exactly what they need to do, and then bop, there it goes. He does end up using his Cataclysm to try and kill him off, but obviously does not get it until much later, and he just stayed a little bit too close to the sun. Man,
Daya, he can't catch a break with these TPs. That's the second time in a row that he's just get cancelled out of this one, and Syncroft just extremely bold. Doesn't matter if he gets killed here. He just flashes over, he gets out alive, so all in all, really nicely done from the K-Corp jungler.
Well, Dragon has spawned, and you can see the rest of Fnatic Rising are moving around. They are going to drop Rift Herald into mid lane, so Shelly's going to make her first appearance, and now with Maxi got that Divine Sunburst feeling very, very powerful, and they should be able to crack this one open. They're going to say, look, we don't need to get the Dragon just yet. We can just take the objective in front of us, and that's a big, big first turret to take here for Fnatic Rising.
Yeah, usually getting a mid lane is always great because you can start pushing out the waves way further. You have way more time to actually impact the side lane. This is even more important now because you actually have that Twisted Fate. You actually have longer time to push in Seiken with your jungler, then move out, and it takes longer before the wave finally gets back to your turret and you start losing resources.
Sadly though for Fnatic Rising, they do not have the Mega Gnar. They can't really go for a full 5v5. They know pretty much they're just not really in a position to fight that, so they are going to give up the Dragon. And Goldberg, I have a slight question for you.
Go for it.
If both teams are even at 15, who wins?
It's a tough one. I think a lot of it, obviously, I will go for the easy one, that it comes down to execution. But I think Fnatic's, it's easier to execute, really. If everyone had the summon off, like you dodge out on the J4, you have the Solar Flare, you have the Chains of Corruptions, the CC chain, we've already seen it once from the side of Fnatic. And I think if you're able to layer this CC down on a target to get a reset for Maxi, that's where things starts to get complicated for K-Corp.
A little bit complicated. Of course, they do have a lot of the same tools, I would say. They're just missing maybe a big ultimate apart from the Flag and Drag into the Cataclysm. I suppose the Showstopper as well, but big moments available for both these sides. And like you said, it's going to be about execution, how you make it work for your team.
Definitely, and the sooner that Dayo can finish up his rapid fire cannon here as well, the harder the game is going to be to play from the side of K-Corp. Seiken, he's a fairly close range champion despite being ranged, and the damage that he needs to dish out can be very dangerous to go up close as soon as Daya has that gold card where we talk about this CC layering. So for Seiken, he needs to remain calm in these situations because he does not have this cleanse. He does not have a QSS.
Bean is around here, so it would be a 4v3 natively, as Maddie has just been in the bot side, and he's been a quiet little carry for his team right now. As I say that, Cabochard might be in a little bit of trouble. We see gold card from the Destiny going straight down. They will use the Everfrost and the Exhaust as well. He's taking a lot of damage, but healing a hell of a lot more. Now Targamas gets jumped on from the side of Leona, uses her to get himself into the fight. There's a big face breaker, but Syncroft does fall down. Seiken cannot get himself in here right now, and the Heartbreaker shuts him down. Targamas survives, but for how long?
And that's the thing, we just took attention to the CC chain that came out, and Targamas, you said it yourself, he's going to survive, but Pride, he's going to get some movement speed now, and he should just be able to jump in a minute to go on towards Targamas and finish the job.
Yeah, he's absolutely dead. And again, those big CC chains, and that was with Targamas getting a great Showstopper with the Facebreaker and the Haymaker Shield. It just wasn't enough to keep him alive, and sadly for Targamas, you're wasting a hell of a lot of time from the side of Fnatic Rising, but you will fall. Rooks gets himself a kill. Xmadi gonna use himself as a little bit of a 1v1 again. Both these bot laners trying to go for it. One more auto attack from Bean, and he pays back the favor.
He finally gets it. He's just chilling in that Fnatic push. Once again, it's pink warded. He's coming out in 80 carry 1v1. We've already talked about it, but it all starts up in this top side. Ends towards the bottom. It's actually crazy to think about all these actions happening. But it's the CC chain again.
Absolutely. Again, like you mentioned, it's a CC chain. I will say Cabochard lasts a hell of a lot longer having that Gore Drinker and the Q, but at the end of it, even with a perfect Facebreaker, like, you just don't have the damage. Seiken can't get into the fight.
And that's the thing, he's so close range, so for him to actually walk off, it's going to cost you so much. Like, that damage you want to dish out, it's just not there yet, and as soon as you get into the damage of Maxi, who's, by the way, 4-0 right now, it's absolutely insane.
And out of nowhere, we've got ourselves a 4,000 goal lead. Fnatic Rising have just ballooned, and this was as even Stevens as you like, and now Syncroft in a hell of a lot of trouble. Flash forward, Heartbreaker going to be responded to by a flash of his own. There is going to be the rapid fire cannon. Ooh, not quite landing the Solar Flare. But again, Flash is boned, Summoner's blown, a lot of different utility used here from Karmine Corp to just keep themselves alive.
But they're so willing to pull the trigger as well, and from the side of Fnatic, this game just gets better and better. Pride is completely stable up towards the top side of the map. He was down half the amount of CS2 Capo shot in the early laning phase because he was sewn away for so long. But right now, he's back to being the one pushing out Capo. So right now, you have the top lane priority, you have the mid lane going well for you, and you can commit towards the bottom side of the map where K-Corp, you have to commend them though. They're still willing to pull the trigger to go for these fights. They were the one who invaded the blue buff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for Fnatic Rising, we talked about how they don't really give resources to Pride. They gave them a hell of a lot of resources this game. You had multiple Destinies, multiple repeat ganks going onto Capo Shard, and because Karmine Corp just overcommitted to trying to save their top laner, they're paying the bill for it. They're paying out to basically try and keep him relevant in this game, and the Gnar ultimates are going to be huge. I really do want to say Maxi 4-0 and 5, 9 kill participation. Xmadi in a lot of trouble, does not have cleanse, and has no way out. Bean picks himself up that kill. That's a good face breaker. Targamas trying to make a little bit of a move here. There is a good Cataclysm. They will take down Rooks, and they will take down the Twisted Fate. TP coming in, but immediately Pride has to get himself out. Good response here, Fnatic. Pride, oh, Pride needs to walk away. Bean is there, Maxi is around. This is actually a little bit dangerous here for the side of Karmine Corp. They don't know exactly where the jungler is. They're going to back up, they're going to look for this dragon.
Yeah, they decide to be smart about it. 10 seconds onto Drake respawns, and Fnatic, much like their main team, a bit of an overextension coming through there. Maxi, he was actually busy doing the Rift Herald by himself while Fnatic committed for that. And yeah, killing Mathy, great, but going between your tier 1 and the inhibitor turret, a bit over aggressive when you got a Rift Herald coming up, when you got the Drake coming up. Fnatic just a bit too bloodthirsty there.
Yeah, you gotta calm the jets. You're doing great, don't worry about it. You're still very much in the advantage in terms of gold. There's actually no turrets here for Karmine Corp, but let's have a look at this. Like you said, just a big overextension because Xmadi just buys so much time.
Yeah, and you know, the map is so good for Fnatic right now. Pride is pushing in the top side, Maxi is soloing the Rift Herald. You can force in this mid wave and start regaining control towards the bottom side of the map, but instead they opt in for the fight, and Syncroft and the rest of K-Corp, they're there to capitalize immediately. Even a TP coming through from Pride here gets burned in the exchange. Just try to salvage what they opted in for here.
It's just been non-stop action. We are 19 minutes with 20 kills on the board, 8-12 in favor of Fnatic Rising, but looking at how they want to move this one now, it does feel like Fnatic Rising just want a deadbolt. They just want to move forward, find those odd number skirmishes, and get their picks.
Yeah, definitely, because we're needing that 20-minute mark to come through as well. They even get the second charge here, and we've already talked about their lanes. They need to be more reserved now in how they approach the map, because you can push out the side lanes, you can skirmish around Maxi, who's incredibly fair, on the Viego, together with the Twisted Fate that can always join, and then start regaining control of the top side of the map now. Start trying to go for the counter jungle and make sure that K-Corp cannot get anything. And then on K-Corp's side, it's about regaining that vision, it's about regaining control of their own jungle.
They're going to be able to do it. They've got the Triforce now finished up here for Xmadi alongside that Manamune, which is almost upgraded. And when we look on the other side of that, Bean got himself the Serpent's Fangs alongside his own Manamune. So going with pretty much the same build, the utility you want to go for. Of course, that Serpent's Fang is going to be great at stopping Targamas' shield, or at least burning it down a little quicker. I'm just curious to see now exactly where they want to go with this one right now. Capo Shard leading the charge in this top side of the jungle as they look to try and maybe go for a gank mid, or maybe cheekily go for the Baron. They don't have great Baron damage. They will have a little bit of a struggle with it, but they are thinking about it. There's the True Shot Barrage to pepper down Bean, and right now it is Fnatic Rising being pushed back as they try to implement their 1-3-1.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly right. This is where they need to be smart about it. They don't have to go for anything here. They can push out the side waves, then they can try and collapse afterwards, and I think that's what they're going to be doing now.
That's exactly what they're going to go for. They're going to jump on the Capo Shard. He can't move, Goldberg! He was CC'd from start to finish. Nothing he can do, and now Fnatic Rising, they're going to get control of this Baron. They might even think about it.
Yeah, they can think about it. They can always just turn on it. They don't have to go over aggressive, but the thing is, the death timers are still fairly long, slow. Remember that there's 20 seconds only on Capo Shard. He does have that TP, so if you start up this Baron, I think it's going to end out as a disaster. So they do the right thing here. They just try to regain some control.
Rooks does get caught out. He was sitting on a ward. Will not hit the Zenith Blade as we go in now. There's going to be the encroaching miss for Maxi to keep him going forward. They will land a gold card, but Syncroft just doing a good job of just tanking up all of this damage. xMatty is still very, very powerful, and with this Qs coming out from the Ryze and the Ezreal, you have to respect the poke damage. You cannot just endlessly walk forward and just take free hits.
But that's great now from Fnatic as well. You just take that victory, you take the control that you got, you reset, and you set up the 1-3-1. Once again, you can see Capo forced to go down towards the bottom side of the map. He needed to pick up that wave that was already slow pushed in by Deo earlier, and up towards the top side of the map, there's a wave that needs to be caught as well. So every time that K-Corp is using time for this, if you get to be out of the map while they're doing this, this is time where you can take control of this fog of war, where you can set up the skirmishes that you want with the CC chain to come through.
Yeah, I'm going to see now Fnatic Rising just getting control around this Baron pit again. Rook's rocking around with his scanner, just seeing if he can get something going for him. And it's important as well, you do not want to get caught out by a flank. You do not want any real possibility of someone TPing in behind you, because right now Fnatic Rising, it is their game to lose. They are the ones in the ascendancy. They've got themselves a 4,000 or 4,500 gold lead, nearly 5,000. They have all the CC lockdown. To anyone takes one step too far forward, they will die.
Definitely, and this is where they need to be reserved just because of that.
Oh, here we go. They're going to jump in, but whoa! Bean does not get himself the Chain of Corruption off. We are going to see Satan get stunned up, and look, straight away, Dayor walks too close to the enemy team, and Karmine Corp beat him down.
And Fnatic, they just can't control the aggression that's coming up from K-Corp. It's relentless, and they're crumbling to set pressure. You had Maxi up in the top side, clearing the Crocs. You had Pride down towards the bottom side, pushing in this wave. And this is where you need to be reserved once again from Fnatic. Make sure that you get a response from K-Corp. Once you see Capo coming down together with others, then you back off, but a TP is coming through.
TP's coming in. Pride will get himself the kill onto the turret, but will he be dying himself? He will be hitting Mega very, very soon. He's getting burnt down and will not gnar out in time. That's going to be 2 quick kills. You trade it for a turret, so again, equal gold going, but the Dragon in 8 seconds, that's going to put you on Soul Point.
Yeah, exactly, and they just forfeited completely up towards the top side of the map. You can see Fnatic, they TP Dayo up there to try and regain some control there, while the rest of K-Corp, they will be getting this Drake, which seems like they've just been getting all these Drakes for free after and after.
And this is just, again, great controlled aggression from Karmine Corp, saying, look, if we find someone, if we're able to get in with the Flag and Drag, we can lock them up with the Ruin Prison. Of course, you've got the W coming out from Cabochard as well. There's so many ways of, again, similar to Fnatic Rising. See champion, kill champion, no way they can move.
And I wonder where this gold is actually placed right now on the side of Fnatic, because there is still a gold lead coming in, nearing that 5,000, but I can imagine Maxi and Bean is stacking up quite a lot. These are some of the members that you want to be able to skirmish around, but now finally Pride, he does have that TP to work around with, so he can join a fight should an engage come through.
Yeah, we are going to see Rooks missing the Zenith Blade, and now Dior's a little bit caught, and he is going to go into Zhonya's, but he has nowhere else to go once he leaves. He's going to get a fantastic for Everfrost, but for what now? We can now see Pride gnarring out. He's got himself in front of people. He flashes forward, not quite able to get on top of the key carries, and now a fight can ensue. It's a 4v4 as Maxi takes down the set. Targamas is dead, but Rooks follows, and it's a fight on 2 fronts. But look how big this Viego is. Pride just needs to keep himself alive, and they can push forward. Maxi is the carry. Maxi is the one who has to die, and he will. It's Syncroft and Seiken. They will have themselves the Realm Warp, and they will corral Pride all the way to his death. It's a 5-4-3 and a Baron for Karmine Corp.
And that is the aggression from Karmine. You have to respect as Fnatic, but it didn't come out once again. They keep looking in a 4v5 situation, even at best. If you get that stun count down from Dayo, it's going to take some time before Pride can join with the TP, but he is coming through now with his ultimate.
Yeah, you have to back away from this one there. Karmine Corp doing very, very well. We can see the damage dealt there, and Seiken just constantly throwing out these Qs. Let's have a look at this one start, because again, it starts off with Dayo just walking too close.
It's the thing, like, you can even see the defensive pink wards. They don't actually see them too far here, so he doesn't really know what he's walking into, and once he stepped up too far forward, you're forced to stopwatch, you're forced to flash, but that's just not going to be enough. And imagine if this is the engage that comes through while you're 5. Imagine if this is what happens while Maxi can follow up, get the reset in a combined setting rather than these isolated skirmishes that he's forced to go for while the rest of his team is just crumbling.
And again, Maxi does such an insane job to keep this as close as it was. It ends up being still a 5-for-3, but if he's able to get one more reset onto that, specifically the Renekton, he's going to be able to take everyone else out. And now KC are back into this mid lane. We're going to see Rooks getting jumped on, Showstopper down upon. There's going to be the Cataclysm coming down, but I think he might have gone a little bit too far, close to Fnatic Rising, and now a 5v3. Seiken does not have flash, and he's in a lot of trouble. You can see now Maxi hunting, pressing, pushing forward, knows that there's an opportunity here for Fnatic Rising, but you gotta respect the poke.
Yeah, you definitely has to respect the poke, but I wonder now, Fnatic, seeing two members of Down, one of them being Syncroft, no smite now off from K-Corp, they could just start off this Baron.
This is good though from Karma and Corp. They're gonna keep themselves sustained up, get a little bit of mana back onto X-Maddie. He's gonna throw out his ultimate, land onto two people. Maxi's very, very low. Look at Rux. Rux is going in over the side. He's gonna find X-Maddie, and they're gonna try and maybe make this work for them there, but Cabochon takes down the Viego. That's the jungler down, and look at Seiken just machine gunning. Nothing you can do there, and he's going to try and finish off the job. X-Maddie takes one more. Double kill.
He's too good.
And Karmine Corp survive in a 5v3.
I cannot believe it. They keep outplaying their opponents like this, and they're straight back up on towards the Baron. They're waiting for the region to come through, and then they will start it up. They have the rest of the map now joining. Syncroft has respawned. Tarkamas is here, and K-Corp, despite being 5k down, despite being the one that was pressured throughout most of the game, they have now found a great way back into it to take the lead.
Get themselves the Baron, they're going to have ways to get themselves back onto the map. Push out bot, push out mid, maybe even take some of that standing gold in top. So much gold going back into the pockets of Karmine Corp. And again, watch Seiken. He just puts himself in a position that he's away from the rest of the team, so when they fully engage, he is untouched.
That's the thing, like, we already talked about the ground that you need to respect, but both Matty and Seiken in this instance is throwing their abilities to like pixel perfection. Seiken getting the kill, then the Everfrost afterwards onto the two members, into the stopwatch as well, just so he stays alive.
Oh, we're going back to live though straight away as we can see a pick happening on our scene. Targamas though is not the one you want to be going on top of him. There's the solar flare coming down, but it's answered by an immediate ult from the Syncroft as he goes straight back in. Showstopper, it's all over the place. They trade, but it's Karmine Corp coming out on top. Double kill for X-Maddie. It's going to be a triple. No, make it a quadra. Karmine Corp have the Baron. Karmine Corp got the ace, and Karmine Corp are going to try and end this game.
Yeah, I definitely think they can look for it here. Yes, there's early seconds now on Rux, but there's still 30 seconds onto any valuable member of Fnatic. So with a big wave like this, with the Baron buff minions coming in, I think they should at least be able to get the inhibitors and start chipping away these Nexus turrets.
They are going to take down the inhibitor. They will take down N. They're going to TP, or excuse me, Realm Warp the minions in as well. Rux, 1v4, you against the world. Can you stop it? I don't think you can. It is going to be Karmine Corp picking off that last kill, getting themselves the first game of this best-of-5 finals, and what a way to do it.
Oh my lord, K-Corp. This is why we always talk about you.
Goddamn.
Oh, you have to take a breather just because that game, full of action, non-stop.
They're bad for you. You barely got to talk.
Oh my god, I loved every second of it just because, you know, they're so willing to pull the trigger. And honestly, I think Fnatic gave off way more aggression and actually got way more on the map than we would have first expected going into this final. This was a close game.
It was, and Fnatic again, they had the advantages. They were the ones with the Twist of Fate that got ahead. They had the Gnar, they had the Varus as well. And they just kept pushing. And then eventually Karma just pushed back and said, no, we're not this weak team that are going to fall. We're not this team that's just going to let you bully us. And you got to respect it. The blue wall, it's hard to push down, man.
Definitely. And I think as Fnatic as well, like obviously we'll have the Death breaking it down as well, but you just need to be more reserved. Your early game, it was so good. It was so good. So going into the next game, there's room for adaptation.
Well, with that, K-Corp takes the advantage in the Amazon EU Masters 2021 finals. We'll be sending it to a quick break, and when we return, the analyst desk will be taking a close look at how Game 1 played out. Unreal.
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the Baron. How does that connect by Edgeway?
Fini! As EU Masters champions!
Welcome back to our Berlin studio. The Blue Wall takes game 1 after this bloodbath of a game 1. I feel like I was watching the LPL, but that's something you tweeted actually.
I loved it. I loved every second. I was like, I'm home. I'm finally home.
Oh.
It was so good. But I love to see it, right? This is kind of the early aggression we expected when you look at like how these two teams like to play.
I didn't know where I should look at the beginning of the game. Actually, was it from top side? Was it from the bot lane? Can you talk me through the early action, Trouble?
I felt like I could not control what was happening on the map. Fnatic had a really good read overall on the map. They would a lot of times ditch the mid wave with Dayer and they would try to play for side lane. I think shutting down Cabochard was a really clever plan because we always see that Cabochard will create these plays later on in teamfights. He's absolutely stellar. So shutting down his Renekton early on, you make sure that he doesn't get to scale that much faster. And then you put Pride ahead, you get Dayer ahead, and all Gucci. The early game went great for Fnatic Rising until a lot of their players were overextending. A lot of them had shutdowns on them, so the gold really quickly shifted over to Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I think Fnatic did a really good job of understanding how to use the Twisted Fate versus the Rise, right? Like, there were so many times where like, hey, we just have that movement faster to get to the top side. You're actually going to see it in this play here, right? You see Seiken stuck in the mid lane. He's trying to wear on more across, but Fnatic Rising are just able to get there faster. And traditionally, you would like to try and find these skirmishes, especially with a set support, because he's so good. He provides just as much CC alongside Leona, but that true damage can make such a big difference. But unfortunately, because you're that little bit late to the party with the Rise, it means you don't really have that opportunity. And when they got to the later portion, this was a big moment for me that we saw the Jarvan first pick. Jarvan pays dividends against these compositions that Fnatic Rising are running because, look, you want to try and play it with sidelines with the Twisted Fate. The Gnar you've just set up for success, but Jarvan is so damn good at engaging from so far away that when you've got this immobile AD carry like the Varus, you now have to try and group around him. Otherwise, this Jarvan will find great engages, set up for an Ezreal, set up for the set to come across the top, and it made it nigh on impossible for Fnatic Rising to try and play at these side lanes.
And I feel like this is where Fnatic Rising was a little bit shaky, to try and understand how the Jarvan engages worked against them, because it felt like, yeah, that was nutty. It felt like they were just not respecting the fact that Bean would be under trouble, Dayer would be under trouble, because they're both very immobile. And I saw Rux in a lot of cases, he was trying to overreach, try to find Mati, who's also running cleanse, who's playing the Edgel, very slippery with the E, with the flash. So suddenly Rux would end up on the complete opposite side of the team fight, where nobody from Fnatic Rising could reach, and then Dayer and Bean would be absolutely demolished by the Renekton and the Jarvan. And I'm like, this is where you kind of have to weigh your situation and starting to pivot. Do I need to stick back with my DC and allow Maxi and Pride to overextend the two fed bruisers to try and deal with the backline of Karmine Corp, or do I go all the way in? Because for me, I felt like maybe the bot lane of Fnatic Rising was a little bit shaky.
Yeah, and they were the key factor during the previous series against Misfit Femir. So I thought that with the composition that they had everything in hand for things to go smoothly, because when you look at both teams, this is comfort comps right there. Yep. So what did it come down to?
He will say the Jarvan, I'll say they managed to deal really well with the Jarvan in the early game. They figured out what the champion wants to do, and then they started overextending. Shutdown onto Pride, bunch of shutdowns onto Dayor. You lose the pressure, you lose a bunch of gold you've accumulated, and then you allow Karmine Corp to figure out exactly how they want to come at you, because so far in this early game, it hasn't necessarily worked for them. So figuring out that they have to brute force on you, seeing Rux on the back of the legs, fine, we'll let Mati deal with him, and then we can do the rest. And I felt like Cabo and Syncroft were two big pivotal factors on why this game went to the side of Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I think there was obviously the Jarvan was a big factor for me. I think he had these great engages that made it very hard for Fnatic Rising to actually operate. But I think as well, as you said, like Dayor just overextending a lot of these fights. Like whatever about the Jarvan, a lot of times he was just getting caught out by Seiken's Rise. Like that was the lockdown that was actually hitting him. So I think mispositioned a little bit on the Twisted Fate, which gave the opportunity for the picks to come through for Karmine Corp and set up these fights. And honestly, if you're just going to go head to head in these fights, Rise does better than Twisted Fate. They kind of do a similar job in the early stages somewhat, but certainly an AoE team fight like Rise is going to win you far harder than something like this Twisted Fate.
Yeah, and we saw that during a couple of fights. I'm talking especially about the Baron setup here, Trouble. I know you were hurt watching this. 3v5, K-Corp managing to turn it around. How did they do it? Maybe we can watch the replay here. But yeah, I was baffled that K-Corp was able to win this fight, even though Fnatic Rising had the position here.
I'm glad we're watching this fight because this shows everything that went wrong for Fnatic Rising. They are overextending, you're losing your Twisted Fate very early on. Pride is gonna TP in, try to get something down. Really good flashes at knee from Xmati and Seiken. And you see Rux isolated on the very back while Bean is trying to stay alive versus a Jarvan and versus a Renekton, which is not happening. Now, the big factor here is Maxi. Maxi is doing such a great job. It gave me, honestly, goosebumps from the inspired pentakill. He kills the Renekton. If he manages to click onto that Renekton soul, we were going to have probably another pentakill moment from a Viego. But all in all, again, Karmine Corp, they found their targets and they executed on that.
Yeah, I think what this fight shows, though, was something that we saw really well done by Karmine Corp is playing around their vision, right? You see Fnatic Rising trying to establish vision control in that top side, but Karmine Corp play around it, make sure they're on several pink wards. They don't spot Seiken able to attach himself on towards Dayor. And so many times throughout this game, there was just like, okay, we know Viego's not in the vicinity. We know that Pride has no TP bot. They'd actually done an incredibly good job of timing that summoner spell to a T. And it meant that when you got in towards these fights, they already knew where everyone was and how quickly they could enact their game plan before Fnatic Rising could put up a defense.
I do want to touch on the adaptation that we are looking for in this best-of-5 series, because we know that Fnatic picked the red side for the next game, which means they're going to have last pick. Where do you see improvements for both teams?
I believe that Fnatic Rising can win with the exact same composition they just drafted. I'd say if they are willing to rinse and repeat, maybe ban the Jarvan out so you don't necessarily have to deal with it, because I feel like it was big trouble for being in the backline trying to deal with all this backline dive. Maybe ban the Jarvan out, but I feel like the Varus is a pretty popular pick for Fnatic Rising. It's like probably his most comfortable champion. I just felt like it was a little bit shaky from he'll be shaky by Dayor. Maybe nerves are coming in playing against, the Spring 2021 champions. But I feel if you want to rinse and repeat and run it back for Fnatic Rising, you can. Same thing for Karmine Corp. You got all your comfort champions. You got Seiken onto the rise, went absolutely nuts. Mati onto that Ezreal was huge as well. Just run it back.
Yeah, I think the only difference for me is I don't want to see the Viego. Not that I dislike Viego. He's stupidly strong. But I think a lot of this series is going to be defined by the early stages, and it's why we're seeing the first pick Jarvan, when you got Xin Zhao and Lee Sin taken off the board, denies the Olaf pick coming across on the other side as well. So I think higher priority on these early game picks in the jungle is going to make it a little bit easier for both sides.
We talked about the map movements for both teams, how it was important, especially during semifinals for both these teams. Who was the more proactive team and why so far? And yeah, where can the other one do it better?
I felt Fnatic Rising had the most proactive early game.
I agree.
But that is also due to the Twisted Fate, right? He had the teleport, he also had Destiny, and I felt like a lot of times Dayor would ditch a wave mid lane completely just to make sure that he's there in time for a play, and these are some sacrifices that you have to make to get your team ahead. So I felt like Fnatic Rising had the proactive early, but Karmine Corp completely decrypted the code, and they found a way to engage.
Yeah, and I think that's the big one for me, is like you've got pushing bot, right? You get the own out onto the map first. She's actually able to make plays alongside that Twisted Fate. So it becomes a hell of a lot easier if you're Fnatic Rising to make these early plays, but you do get to a point where you're like, right, if we want to try and play it through side lanes, it becomes incredibly difficult. You do win the mid push in the 1-3-1 scenario, but if you ever try to overextend to take a wave, then you've got the Jarvan who's jumping in on top of you. You've got a lot of things that are coming your direction, and I think it just was too much to handle, and it's why like we praised Fnatic Rising for their ability to play at the map and cross map coming in from their semi-finals, particularly in game number 5, but you just don't have that opportunity to go for it this time around, and I think it really stumped them, and I think it's really smart from Karmine Corp. Their biggest issue coming into this that I could kind of see from the gameplay was not really knowing how to play the map, not really playing 1-3-1, but they just went, look, we know if we try to play this game, Fnatic Rising will win, let's just shut it down, let's just go for the Jarvan and make sure we can win this out.
Yeah, let's stop them from playing their game, and we'll see what both teams can come up with for the rest of the series. I will see you for game 2 in just a few minutes.